Hello, here I am, surrounded by loads of books. Who'd have thought? I hope everyone's doing well. Where I am is really shit weather, considering I've just bought a new summer dress, and as soon as the weather decides to sort its shit out, I shall be prancing around in it outside. However, I thought I'd make a little video talking about at least one book that I've bought recently that I am really excited about. I never thought that I really liked reading because I've got quite a short attention span and I find it quite difficult sometimes to concentrate on reading a full book. However, I realise the importance of reading and educating myself and making sure that I'm informed, sharing knowledge and compassion, educating each other. So I try myself to just sort my shit out and read. So I have, and I have learned so much. But the first book that I wanted to talk about was Women Don't Owe You Pretty by Florence Given. Honestly, if you haven't read this book, I'm like 3/4 of the way through and I'm absolutely in love. I would really, really, really recommend it because it's so informative, reflective, powerful, influential. It makes you reflect on your own behaviour, and I think that's really, really important and something that people need to do constantly, and it can be a difficult and uncomfortable thing to do, but we need to be in uncomfortable situations right now in order to progress and change behaviour that could be harmful to other people and also yourself as well. It's definitely made me even more aware of privileges that I have, that I knew that I had, but also things such as body hair and topics that I've been talking about recently. I recently did a podcast discussing issues that we face as women, trying to empower women, trying to unite women to feel as though they're in a safe space to talk about issues that we experience, like growing out body hair, like not seeming desirable to men because of that. And it was really made me question my approach, the topics and things that I'm discussing as a white cisgender woman. So I'll touch a little bit more on that as well. And it's just made me completely reflect on what a racist, capitalist, sexist society we live in, and also the harmful effects of internalized misogyny as well. So there are so many things that this book has made me think about. But going back to, and also the inside cover is orange and pink leopard print, so that is actually a telltale sign of a good book, in case you didn't realise. It touches on that subject quite early on. If I can find the passage, I will read it. Where is it? I actually folded the page so I could find it, and now it's gone. Okay, cool. So, I've also just noticed this dress is gradually unravelling throughout the video. I'm just going to cover it up with the book. The ability to defiantly resist is only afforded to those who are privileged enough not to be ostracised if they do so. So that goes back to what I was saying before, and something that I've always been really open about and consciously done is grow out my armpit hair, my body hair, and although yes, that will be seen as undesirable to this sexist society that we live in, and although it's not attractive towards the typical male gaze, and I could face, insults because of it, the fact that I have the ability to grow it out unapologetically and showcase that in the first place shows what kind of privilege I have. And I don't think I realised that when I was posting pictures of, my armpit hair and celebrating it and discussing things like body hair among women. I don't think I truly understood the privilege that provided me with. So there's another passage here which I can really relate to. Growing out my armpit hair was a very intentional and conscious decision, but being able to grow out my body hair is in fact a privilege. Sure, it's not viewed as desirable by the standards of the male gaze. Most people still think it's repulsive and you'll be shamed for it regardless of your race. But being able to grow out your body hair without facing additional discrimination is a privilege afforded only to thin, cisgender, white women like me. Because even with my armpit hair, which I can shave off anytime I want, I will still be viewed as desirable, and in a sexist, racist, capitalist society which places its values of women on their appearance and whether or not they're visually pleasing, having natural desirability is a privilege because you're more likely to be afforded opportunities just for existing in the body that you do. I will still be viewed as feminine whether I shave or not, a privilege that not all trans, fat women and women of colour have. So even in just that one passage, it's made me reflect a lot, like I said, on feminism as a whole. And this also relates to a term that I've recently been made aware of by Angela Davis. And if you haven't heard of Angela Davis, please, I urge you to educate yourself on her. YouTube her, Google her. She is an incredible American political activist. She's a philosopher, she's an academic, and she talks a lot about the idea of mainstream feminism, which is whitewashed feminism, basically, where white women, affluent white women, talk very simplistically about issues that on a larger scale don't represent trans women or trans women of colour or disabled women. It's very centred around whiteness. And that again relates to another phrase that she's mentioned quite a few times called glass ceiling feminism, where it's the women who drive feminism are the ones that are already so close to the top, for example, being white and cisgender. Whereas, you know, what's happening to the women at the very bottom of this racist society, this sexist society? It's trans women of colour. They're the ones that need to be uplifted. They're the ones that need to have their voices heard. So honestly, oh, my cat has just come in the room. Hello. Oh, she's very old and I think she might die soon. Anyway, the last little passage of that bit that I wanted to read was, I don't know many trans women who grow out their leg or armpit hair because they're held by society to much higher standards of proving their gender than cisgender women like myself are. Trans women don't owe it to anyone to perform their gender in a way that is hyper-feminine, but we must acknowledge that we live in a society that expects them to nonetheless, just as we expect women of colour to. There are double standards associated with our acceptance of body hair that cannot be ignored, and conversations around hair positivity need to centre around the voices of those whose bodies are most marginalised by society's expectations in the first place. It does not make you morally superior to grow out your body hair, and you're not any less of a feminist for shaving, because let's face it, life is easier when we shave. Do what you want with your body hair, but remember that real change doesn't start until the people in the margins of our society are liberated and able to make the same decisions without discrimination that thin, non-disabled, cisgender white people can already make. Honestly, I really urge you to get this book because it really highlights things. For instance, me, you know, as a white woman talking on that podcast with another white woman about those kinds of issues. Are we really the ones that should be talking about that when we're already afforded so much privilege and respect in society? But yeah, it also, you know, it goes on to talk about internalized misogyny as well, how we treat other women, and how important it is to celebrate each other, support each other, lift each other up, and not take out our insecurities onto other people, not, what are you doing? Not project our insecurities onto other people. There is enough room for all women to be whole without tearing each other down. This incredible piece of artwork here. So, oh my God, looking good for my damn self. I mean, that's something that I do all the time because I currently don't feel the need to look good for anybody else. It just really is an eye-opener, so I 100% would recommend this book. I want to talk about it in more detail at another point, but that's just like a little introduction. Oh my God, she's sticking her claws in. I have Me and White Supremacy by Layla F Saad, which again is absolutely incredible, but in a way that is uncomfortable, and that is needed right now. We need to feel uncomfortable in order to create change, but that is something that I want to talk about in more detail separately. So yeah, have a look at Florence Given, have a look at Angela Davis, and also Jane Elliott is incredible. Layla F Saad, I'm also reading Natives, Race and Class in the Ruins of Empire by Akala. please also educate yourselves on him, because he is so articulate and informative and accessible to everybody in the language that he uses. The autobiography of Malcolm X. We've got a lot to talk about, but yeah, in the meantime, just keep learning, keep sharing information, stay compassionate, and yeah, spread the love and information. Thanks for listening.